All right, welcome back to the Black Techies podcast, where Black culture meets the world of technology. I'm your host, David. I'm joined by, once again, Herb and Dominique, and we got Marcus Shoot on here. It's been like forever since he's been on, but he's back. And we got my wife on here. Man, that's when you know it's serious. When you got when you got longtime members coming back, you got spouses coming on. It's serious. And so as
Mrs. Package Stealer.
Right. I don't. She might not like that one, but sure. But uh, if you're watching, if you're listening, well, ask before all that. You all know what to do. Follow us on Twitter at the Black Techies. Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/the Black Techies podcast, and of course, join the Black Techies Collective if you want to talk about all of this stuff. Because as you can see by the title of this episode, you already know what's going down. So we just gonna hop right into it. As you all already know, we lost the man, the myth, the legend, Chadwick Boseman. Just as a brief little synopsis, I mean, he's very well known for some of the biopics that he's done with James Brown, Jackie Robinson, Thurgood Marshall, and of course, he's well known for being the Black Panther in the MCU. And unfortunately, he passed away on August 28th from colon cancer. I think it's maybe a 4-year bout with colon cancer, and yeah, it's been rough. Like 2020 has already been rough, but then like this was just like the straw that broke the camel's back in a way. You know, it's like, wait, can just spare us someone, right? But unfortunately, it's happening. So I what I want to do is kind of go around the room, so to speak, and just kind of get everyone's reactions to his death, his life. You know, how did he inspire you, or what did you like about maybe some of his films or something, or so. I know my wife kind of has to dip, so we're gonna start with her. Babe, thank you for being on. So I'll let you have the floor and go ahead and speak your mind.
So when this happened, I hadn't cried for any celebrity since, I want to say, Whitney. So I've only cried for Michael Jackson when he passed and Whitney Houston, and I bawled at her funeral when it was cast. And I didn't think I would do the same for Chadwick. I guess it was just really, like you said, the straw that broke the camel's back of all that's been happening in 2020. Like, I've been trugging along, just keeping going. Like, okay, whatever's going on in politics, whatever's going on in the world. But this hit hard. Um, he was really just this consummate performer who was just excellent in what he did. And for 4 years, he gave us Thurgood Marshall, he gave us Jackie Robinson and James Brown, and so many other films. And he did this all while battling um, cancer, going through chemotherapy, going through whatever surgeries he may have had to go through, and you just didn't know it. You were not aware of it, and it really broke me. And I just had to let it all out, and I cried. And I think for him, he was really what, for a lot of people, this what we had when we were younger, when we saw our Black actors and actresses on the TV, screen. He was that for the younger generation. So it's kind of like, what now? And a lot of people are saying, to keep this going, you need to add Shuri, you need to have her carry it. So he was that for the little boys, and she needs to be that for the little girls. So right now I'm just kind of, processing it, but kind of hoping that Marvel would do his passing justice and carrying on that mantle, to whoever is next, so that our little Black girls can have someone, hopefully, to look up to, as our Black boys did, but as also as our culture had with him. So, but yeah.
Are you did you want to stay on, or were you gonna hop on out?
I'm gonna hop on out, but unless anybody want to say anything after that. But yeah.
Well, I will say that so there's um, canonical uh, um, precedence with Shuri taking the mantle, but because I think we need another movie of T'Challa, something happening to T'Challa to make like the way that last movie ended. It wouldn't make sense if this movie just had Shuri as
Fury.
the Black Panther,
Right.
but maybe they can use all the technical wizardry that we have and just like kind of give him like a 5 to 10 minute at the beginning of the movie reason to pass the mantle, and we don't have to do what I expect them to do, which is put out Black Panther 2 that doesn't give Shuri the mantle and has some other dude as Black Panther, John Boyega, or some British dude. It's gonna be some British dude. Ain't no more Black American male actors, unless it's gonna be Sam Jackson. So I don't know. It's gonna be some British dude playing T'Challa, and we're all gonna critique him because he's not Chadwick Boseman. Nobody can be Chadwick Boseman, and I mean, I like you said, I do think that it is. I hope that the next movie finds a way to transition to Shuri because the our young Black girls as a girl dad, I want them to see themselves in superheroes, just like I want young Black men to see themselves in superheroes too. Even though they did get to see themselves in Shuri. Shuri was a prominent part of that movie, and she was the dopest. She was one of the dopest characters on the movie. Not to mention Okoye and Nakia. So,
Well, I'll just say this: if and I this is a big, huge, giant if they choose somebody to replace Chadwick, um, I don't think it's going to be the John Boyega lane. It's going to be something along the lines of somebody who's already played that character in some other form or fashion. First person that comes to mind is Jaimon Hansu, who played Black Panther in the Marvel Knights version of Black Panther, the animated version. But I mean,
John
just
Ma 50 years old, but
well, I mean, there's a lot of ways that could be done. That could be done, but
true.
um, I'll piggyback off of what Miss Matthews just conveyed. To be honest, man, I mean, those y'all know me. I'm a DC native. I grew up right down the street from Howard, and the fact that this guy was able to make this kind of impact on our culture this quickly during such a short amount of time just speaks volumes. It speaks volumes about not just about the type of guy that he was, but it speaks volumes about the greater message and quality that schools like Howard, schools like Tennessee State, schools like Alabama State, Alabama A&M, you name it. I mean, he I think why this hurts so many people, particularly in our, the folks that are within our community as HBCU products, is that he's the best of us. He's the best cross section you can think of. You think about cats that you run across on campus during your time at school, and just some you couldn't put a finger on, but you know that dude's going to wreck it when he gets out there. That was Chadwick.
If
And
you I hear an echo. I don't know. Before you go, uh, or before you before you go on rather, Mian, was there anything else you wanted to add before I want to
Um,
just
no, to what was said earlier, about pants in the mantle, I actually agree with it. The way that I explained it to someone that when we were at church, a friend of ours, is that the way they did it for Captain America, I don't know if they can do the same. Like it was just like an ease of, okay, we're okay with this. He gave us, I don't know how many movies, and it was okay for him to pass that along, in the way that he did it and the way that it ended. So with all technology, the way that they carried, oh, she escapes me, Star Wars.
Oh,
Leia.
uh,
Yeah,
Yeah. Carrie Fisher.
Carrie
right. Carrie
Fisher.
Fisher.
Yeah.
The way that they, I don't know if they need to do it better, or I didn't see that, in the movie. I just know they carried her on, even after she passed, in some way that they can, honor her, not honor her, but honor him in a passing way, to Shuri. That would, I think, be the best thing to do, instead of, like, like he said, just here's a movie and then she just picks it up and you're just like, okay, so what?
Yeah. On a side note, man, I mean, 4 years. This dude knew that he had stage 3 colon cancer for 4 years. Didn't say a word, gave everything that he had to every project that he had and to everybody else besides himself. If that doesn't speak to the type of character, the type of person that Chadwick was, nothing will. I mean, and that's kind of why, as more news comes out, that's kind of why this hits so hard, because you knew what kind of quality dude Chadwick was. You didn't have to know him to know that. You knew him by how he carried himself, how he repped HBCUs whenever he had the opportunity, how he catered to the least of us. And it was really, it hurt. It hurt a lot. And I can understand how people could really internalize it the way that they have, because you didn't have to know him to feel like that dude was a part of your extended family.
Mm.
That's the type of emotions that he evoked with his, within his craft, and in terms of how he carried himself around others and toward others. So in terms of how they, passing the mantle and a lot of things, I think this also gives Josh Whedon and those guys in the Marvel Brain Trust even though this is really tragic, it gives them a unique opportunity.
Mm.
It gives them a unique opportunity to have even more voices of color, even more representation, and within the framework of their Marvel universe. I was thinking about this prior to getting on, and there's so many characters that don't get the run, that don't get talked about, that tell incredible stories. And I think we talked about this in a podcast long, long ago, a couple of seasons, a season or two ago, and we were talking about folks like Blue Marvel. We were talking about characters along those lines that tell the story of African Americans. Um, Blue Marvel in particular is crazy, because this guy was, uh, you know, his introduction happened during Marvel during World War II and the Cold War. He essentially was, saving the planet whenever he had to, until folks found out he was black. And then, you know, America tried to kind of hush him away. Um, Even though that's kind of a minor example, there are a lot of ways that that the creative team at Marvel could, you know, give him the send off that he deserves, and do so in a way that will give audiences the type of satisfaction that they need. Because you can't just write this dude off,
Mm.
or this dude out of the, and just say, oh well, something happened to him, he got killed. Nah, man, that's not gonna work. So, um, but yeah, I think, like I said earlier, I echo Mrs. Matthews' pain because this sucks. It really does. Given what we've seen during the course of 2020, who's still around, who's still healthy and kicking. We're not going to say no names, but some of the best of us are gone. And I mean that's not just Chadwick either. We had Cliff Robinson of UConn die, and Lute Olson. As a basketball fan, a college basketball fan, Lute Olson is one on the Mount Rushmore of college basketball coaches to me. But this is just an example of how this year has kind of taken a toll, and like she said, this is veritably the straw that broke the camel's back for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of, damn, okay, man, can 2020 just go somewhere, please? Can we just pay you off and roll out? Anything, just let us go, just leave us be. But
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, I would be remiss, and I know Dom and Roberto, you know, not to speak for them, but I would think they would agree, them being really big Marvel heads themselves, just how big this is, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
It's rough, and I won't. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I'm
I
sorry.
was just gonna say, like, I definitely agree. No, ladies first. I definitely agree, and it's like even bigger than just being Marvel fan, but especially as a Marvel fan, it's like one of the dudes you thought was invincible, and that hurts even more.
But I do appreciate, we say a lot in the social media, with the passing of so many celebrities. We need to give them their roses now. We need to, say how much we appreciate them now while they're still living. That Jimmy Fallon episode, where he was standing behind the curtain and people were walking up to the
Thank you.
picture of
Yeah.
him and giving him praise, and he came out from behind. He got his roses, and that to me was kind of a way that we
Mm-hmm.
all said thank you, how much you impacted us, how much you made a difference. They spoke for
Mm-hmm.
all of us, and he got his roses. And I really hope that he realized that how much he made a difference, how much how he
Mm-hmm.
impacted people. So at least it for me, he got his roses. He was showing his love, and he knew it. So, but thank you for this opportunity. When David said that you
Yeah.
guys were going to do this, I was like, I need to get this out. I need to say this. Just kind of hopefully, move on from here and just be like, all right, 2020, we're just gonna push through. Just, but yeah. So
Yeah.
I will pass this on to whomever is next. But bye, guys.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna see you in like 30 minutes, but yeah.
Yes.
That's funny.
But
30 minutes. Thanks for coming, but he ain't telling the truth. Ain't gonna be no 30 minutes.
it won't be.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
but although that said, my daughter has school tomorrow, so we ain't trying to. But but Ashley, I kind of want to pass it to shoot there. He says we haven't heard from him in like 2 years.
Yeah.
If you go ahead
Call him out.
Bye, bro. I like
Right.
the
Yeah.
background, man. That's kind of dope.
I appreciate that. Yeah. So it's been a lot. I started to try to write something on Twitter. I would say, when I first read the news, and it was just difficult for me to process and to put it into words. I think that all of you all agree, when we find someone or some person in the public spectrum that looks like us, that where you can identify with, you kind of gravitate towards them. And just like when Kobe died, you feel like you lost a piece of your collective family. And so when you
Mm-hmm.
look at, something like Black Panther, because I remember when back when you first had this idea to create this group, to create this podcast, is to highlight, our culture and how, we're extremely diverse, and we're not just set into certain categories of interest and likes. And, being able to deep dive in the quote unquote nerd, that we feel that we are, because not a lot of people in the mainstream, at least, or mainstream media, talk about that. And so being able to connect with him and knowing his connection to, HBCUs and knowing who he represented, it just feels, like I said, just a great loss. And I posted a poem by Will Allen Drumgoole that talks about bridge builder. And so much of what I felt like he did in his works was about creating a path for somebody else to come after him, knowing, he knew that he may not, make it. And I read on Twitter, somebody said it was almost like he told his agent to just cast me for Legends only, as if to say like he understands the work that he's going to be doing and what he's putting in is going to go for generation to generation, and how it spans so many different genres from sports to law. I mean, for me to see, him embody an attorney who became a Supreme Court justice as an attorney, for me is just inspiring. So, those are just some of my thoughts that I had, just, trying to process everything.
No, that's good.
More
Uh,
importantly, he had the skill to be able to portray those. He didn't feel out of place or miscast. I never saw him play a bad role. I never saw him do something that I didn't believe.
Right.
And it's such a rare talent to be able to say that you were a Marvel superhero, the first black man to play in the major leagues, the one of our legendary music artists. Like, who is this dude that he can do all of these things? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right. Right.
And I think the coolest thing about watching Chadwick at work was that he absorbed those roles. He became Thurgood Marshall. I mean, you think about a young Thurgood Marshall rolling through the South, pardon my language, pissing white folk off. He absorbed that.
Mm-hmm.
The same thing with Jackie Robinson.
Mhm.
Same thing with, the most recent movie, him as a detective in that movie.
21 Bridges.
21 Bridges. Yeah.
Now Brooklyn. You know,
Very good movie.
and
Mhm.
like I said, as after news of his passing came out, um, you started hearing stories from celebs, finding out Denzel Washington's involvement with him was crazy. I mean,
and
practically.
Felicia Rashad.
Felicia Rashad is a teacher. Yeah.
I mean,
Mhm.
same thing with Angela Bassett. Angela was there when Chadwick was escorting her when she got her honorary degree at Howard. And full circle, now they're acting together in Black Panther. You know what I'm saying? There are
Mhm.
a lot of things that are coming out that, again, really speaks to the type of cat that he was and that he represents. And I think, the greater, besides his passing, I think the greater message here is that, like I said earlier, for, folks that love HBCUs, for folks that, have legacies and histories at HBCUs, it sucks that he's gone. In the same vein, he's the best. He's a representation of the cross section of HBCUs, of students that go, of people that support them. That they're the best. They're the absolute best of what not just HBCUs have to offer, but Black folk in general. Because I mean, in light of this happening, as tragic as it is, how much shine have we gotten, over this summer, in terms of showcasing what HBCU culture and impact is about. I mean, this show in particular, we've talked about a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff is starting to come about just within this specific narrow space. But the conversation about that aspect of our existence here is at the forefront. We have a vice presidential candidate that's a Howard University grad. You know,
And an AKA.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, Divine Nine.
Mhm.
I mean, there are a lot of us that are at the forefront of major businesses, industry. I know Robert Johnson. Even though this latest news he's been in has been kind of as you want to forget about that part, but you know just the nature of the news that's coming out about the impact that you know folks that have gone through this process to get into those industries is having. And Chadwick is probably the best example of that. you know
if I can share just a quick little note. So I don't know when he posted it, but the guy who directed Creed and Black Panther, Ryan Coogler, he put out a pretty lengthy statement about Chadwick. And one of the anecdotes he noted was that he was watching a like an unfinished version of Captain America: Civil War, and uh, the part, the part where he was interacting with his father, T'Chaka, they were speaking in, I don't want to butcher the name of the language, but
Kosa.
say it
Course,
again.
course.
Kosa.
Yeah, that. So they were speaking that, right? And
Yeah.
and that's a real language. It's spoken in South America, South Africa, and other places, I believe. But here's the wild thing. So Kugler was saying that. So he asked one of the producers if they made up the language. I guess he had never heard it before, and they're like, "No, this is John, the guy who played Chaka, John Connie. That was his native language." And so him and Chadwick were just talking in this language. Like, so Chadwick learned the lines in that language on the spot. Like, it
Yeah,
was
he
nothing.
does
And
that.
so then they made like because of that though, they made that the language, or they based the Wakanda language off of it
Hmm.
just because of that.
Yeah.
So he learned all of his, what he said, where is it? The decision to have to be the official language of Wakanda was solidified by Chad, a native of South Carolina, because he was able to learn his lines on the spot. Like, I mean, like that's an actor right there. I mean, you can learn your lines at least for an entirely new language, or yeah, learn your lines in an entirely new language on the spot, and then just have that be
And give it meaning.
Yeah,
right.
we're not
And
even talking. We're not even talking
Yeah.
about
Because
how
that's
to pronunciate, how to pronounce the words, how to, use
And that's not a
inflection
natural. He's
within the
from South
language.
Carolina. This dude ain't like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's from South Carolina and he is speaking Kosa. Like,
Yeah,
it's hard as I had to practice for like an hour to just you say Kosa. That's not a natural thing that we do in English. And he from the South where they don't do English like that down there,
yeah.
down here. So I think it's really impressive. This
look, you
dude's
about to get
crazy.
Southern people angry at us.
Uh,
No,
Prove
it's
that
I
I'm
mean, but it is
lying.
difficult. It is very difficult to speak a different language with meaning. Growing up listening to a lot of Latin artists, and then during that little moment where Ricky Martin and Mark Anthony got famous, and you had native Latin speakers doing their songs in English and singing, and the emotion wasn't there. Like Shakira did an album in English, and I could listen to it and be like, doesn't
Yeah,
sound the same way because you don't feel the words that you're saying. And for him to deliver I watched Civil War last night. Um, I was like, I'm gonna do something else, and I'm gonna watch Civil War at the same time. And of course, I ended up just watching Civil War, um, and just kind of mourning at the same time because I was like, I'm gonna put on Black Panther, but I was like, nah, I'm not gonna do that.
yeah.
I'm not that.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
not
not.
that brave yet. Like I'm gonna watch it in like 2 weeks because I usually watch it like once every couple weeks or something like that, just because I love the movie. I think it's commendable for everything that David just said about Ryan Coogler, and even more so about Chad, for him to look at that stuff and be like, all right, well, I could do this, and not just I'm gonna do it and I'm gonna say it right, but I'm gonna do it properly. I'm not even gonna. I mean, because people love Scarface, and that was a horrible accent. He wasn't even speaking a different language. He was just
Yeah,
doing a crappy Cuban accent, and people love that movie. And yet here's this man delivering a fantastic. Now again, I'm not uh, second generation African, so I'm sure there's some kids that'll be like, "No, that didn't sound like when he was speaking English. He didn't. The accent wasn't good." But even with the subtitles coming on, and you kind of getting, especially the conversation he had before we lost King T'Chaka, that was a conversation like I could have with my own dad. Like that was a heartfelt moment that I think gave a lot of introspection into what we were going to see in Black Panther. And
right.
it's hard to introduce people briefly in a movie and then have them kind of outshine everybody.
Yeah,
I mean,
and he did outshine everybody. I mean, that dude,
mhm.
Black
It
Panther's
was. I mean, it was hard.
yeah, Black Panther's introduction into the MCU was just like, okay. Yeah, all the others were just like,
He's
oh,
the best part
Yeah,
of a lot of
yeah,
people's favorite Marvel movie is Winter Soldier, and Black Panther's the best part of that movie.
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Like it's good stuff, man. Like you can't even there's no way to minimize that or just say like, well, you of course you would say that you're a black nerd, so like of course
Okay,
seeing Black
that's right.
Panther pop up is like I'm like no, that's not even it. Like as a kid from Queens who always grew up loving Spider-Man because Stan Lee used to draw him in neighborhoods that I recognized. Spider-Man was introduced in that movie, and I was like, "Oh, Spider-Man!" But look at T'Challa. It was so much more like of an energetic moment for me watching that again. Even watching it again last night, I knew it was coming. I know what was going to happen, and watching him pop up and give Bucky the hands on the rooftop after Bucky done beat up 40 Spetsnaz guys or something like that. Like he beat up all them dudes,
That's nuts.
like in the gap fall line, and then jumped off of a building onto another building, and then was promptly smacked around until I mean, if Steve didn't come help him, that would have been a wrap right there. That would have been the end of the movie. And he got shot by a helicopter. He was taking fire from a helicopter, and that's probably the thing I remember from the trailer the most. The helicopter was shooting him, and he looked annoyed. Like he was wearing a mask, you couldn't see his face, but the way that he looked up, like you don't see I'm busy. You don't see I'm doing something right now.
Like
And like
how do you shrug
everything
off
about
helicopter? How do you shrug?
yeah, you know what I'm saying?
That's an
It's a
annoyance. That's an
Gatling gun.
annoyance.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like somebody's hanging out of a helicopter with a minigun on you, and you just like, I'm what? Right when I finish this, I swear I'm
I'll
gonna come
get
to
to
you.
you.
Just let me
Right.
put a pin in that and let me come back to you. It's I have a whole like emotional tie to Black Panther that once like I'll try not to go on a tangent, but I want to like I've been like working all day and I've been doing stuff and I purposely like let me go change my shirt, take a shower, and come over here and make sure I get ready to be on this to do this because Black Panther came out on February 16th, 2018. My dad died on February 17th, the day after. And I remember watching him struggle with his father's death and thinking to myself, like, my dad wasn't young. You know what I'm saying? My dad was born in 1935. So you can do the math on that. Um, but he'd been in and out the hospital and it didn't really ever bother me. And I got that call that he was in the hospital and I was like, I went and saw Black Panther the night before. Like I was hyped and like my dad was in the hospital and I was like, go see him. And he didn't make it. And it was rough dealing with that. It was rougher still because I went and saw it for free like a week later with some of my friends, and I cried watching the movie. And they was like, "Dang, Roberto must really like Black Panther." And it was again watching T'Challa and T'Chaka's interaction and watching him try to essentially tell him like, "I can't do this without you," and him saying like, "Yo, if you can't, then I failed as a father, and have I ever failed you?"
Mm.
And again, watching their interaction, and again, I get it. Like I'm emotionally biased to like it more than I should, but really, I should have hated it because it made me deal with a lot of painful emotions that I probably wasn't ready to deal with
Yeah.
at the second watching of it. The first watching of it, I took my wife and my kid. We went in there, we was cheering and having a good time. The second time I watched it with completely different eyes, and it was something that I don't know if when you do art, especially films and video games, and the point of it is to be evocative, um, and paintings, rap music, anything. I don't know if I was prepared to have such emotional reaction to anything, especially it's a comic book movie about a guy that dresses up as a cat and runs around Africa. Like, how can you possibly? How is that? How do you relate to that? And I related to it very well. Um, I saw a lot of that movie as therapy, and I saw a lot of what Chadwick did, especially watching him play James Brown, and then coming back and watching that again. Um, I will say, like, to Chadwick's credit, that was the first time I've ever understood anything James Brown said, and he did a very good job of walking that line between uh, just the coolest man alive talking and incoherent gibberish, which is James Brown's like niche, like right in there. He stays in that pocket. So I guess learning a whole different language for him was nothing new. Uh, but watching him convey that anger, watching him convey the sadness, watching him go through all these emotions, where he realized that his father was human. And I think a lot of us, as fathers and also as sons, um, struggle with that sometimes because we want to be everything. We want to be the best we can be. We want to do all these things. And when we fail, we're harder on ourselves than most anybody would. I mean, I know that there's like single mom struggle, and most of the time the world is like, hey, you know what? You're doing the best you can. You do everything. Moms in with husbands and full support and all that stuff struggle, and they get that same pat on the back. As a father, sometimes you feel like, hey man, I'm struggling and the world doesn't really care. I just got to either man up or, if I do good, then no one respects it because kid gets in the major leagues and he says, "Hi, mom," even though you're the one that taught him how to run and taught him how to catch and kick and do all this stuff. And I felt like T'Challa did such a good job of really loving and being loved by his parents and really connecting because Angela Bassett, any of us could see Angela Bassett right now. I think Angela's what, 62 or something like that now. Angela still looked like
That's like
she could have been
73.
Chad's love interest.
Dude,
Bro, she looked like she's
I
43.
think I think Angela Bassett. I think Angela Bassett is like a low key celestial because she looks like she's like 20.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Dude,
she
yeah.
looked, what I'm saying? Like you looked at her and you're like, oh, okay. So I know that's Angela, and she transforms herself into the Queen Mother, and you're just like that conversation and the relationship, the way that she interacts with Shuri and T'Challa in the movie is fantastic. But again, I think Chad ties everything in together. And I saw a lot of critiques of the movie that Chad was the least interesting part of that movie. And
Those people would be
I
on.
found that amazing because I thought, yeah, I was like, I loved him in the movie, but at the same time, he was the, how they say in the jokes, there you got the crazy one, you got the straight man. And T'Challa played the straight man. He played the one that was always grounded. He played the one that always was on top of stuff because he didn't feel like he had a choice. Like he always had to be perfect, for lack of a better way to explain it. And watching him kind of move through that and then get beat down and then realize, hey, look, you know what? I can't do this without everybody else. Like he embodied a lot of vulnerability and power. And it was like everything that you could ask for in a superhero. And ain't nobody had thrown no green rocks at him to make him feel vulnerable for a moment. And I just thought he did a fantastic job in everything that he played in. Like everything I've seen, like I watched 21 Bridges, and it's a cop movie, and you're like, yeah, I get it, the dirty cops and everything that. But you looking at it and you like, all right, T'Challa, what you about to do? What you about to solve a case? And you're watching it and you're like, oh, he's playing a whole different other person.
Yeah.
He's not. And sorry, Anthony Mackie, but sometimes Anthony Mackie, you watch him play in things and you like, he's not really that good outside of being Falcon.
I haven't seen
Yeah.
Altered Carbon,
But
so I have no idea how he is.
sorry, Anthony.
Well, I mean,
He's
just
okay in it. Like, you know, uh,
Well, there's a
yeah.
reason he's not listed as one of the goats. Like we're not knocking nobody, but he's
yeah,
like
yeah.
when I look at him, I see Papa Doc, and I don't know how to not see that. Um,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
Well,
Clarence,
yeah.
yeah, but I'll say this.
look, he lost the battle. He can't get no nicknames from me. He's
Right.
Clarence.
Uh, but I mean, just to kind of piggyback off of Roberto just kind of laid out, just outside of Black Panther, I know, folks that know me outside of the Black Techies know that I'm a big history guy, particularly our own, or, Black history and American history as it relates to it. And Thurgood was something that it evoked a lot. If you're familiar with, Thurgood Marshall's early days, that dude spent the majority of his early days roaming the South, fighting, for equal access to education, you know, and amongst other things, and really risking his well-being doing so. Um, the way he played that part, and you'll have some people that will look at the movie and be like, "Oh, well, that didn't say a lot to me." It said a lot to me because during that period of time, you're taking your life in your hands. You know, crossing the border, crossing state lines. Once you cross into Virginia and you start going down south and going further south during that period of time, you say or do the wrong thing to the wrong person, you can be ended up as some strange fruits from somebody's tree.
So as a side note, if you go down 95, I forgot what exit. I want to say exit 135, something like that. There's a big old Confederate flag just
Oh yeah,
out and proud.
yeah, I know
Yeah,
that.
in Virginia, I pass that all the time whenever we go to North Carolina. It's like
They,
it's only a few exits south of Potomac Mills,
right,
so it's not even that far away.
yeah,
And so
Fredericksburg area.
yeah. All right, go ahead, continue.
Yeah, yeah, we know about those cats too. But yeah, man. I
Mm.
mean, like I said earlier, it's something that speaks to not just his range as an actor, but his penchant for making people feel specific things in specific roles. And like I said, I watched Thurgood, and at first I really didn't think about, I was a little bit skeptical in terms of the movie because any type of historical biopic that people do these days, I kind of, particularly for Black folk, I kind of turn the, side eye to it, unless I watch it and see, whether or not there's, they don't do specific things like, have the white savior complex screwing up the biopic or a number of other things.
Yeah.
But they let Chadwick immerse himself in that role, and you saw a young Thurgood Marshall. You saw the complexities of that guy according to the history. You saw what he was facing, during his early days of, you know, like I said, crisscrossing the South and, fighting separate but equal policies in terms of education, in terms of access to other resources. And he did an awesome job with it. And I think, one of the things that, people will know him for, besides the fact that he is T'Challa now. There's nobody else that dude's T'Challa. You know, Chadwick T'Challa Boseman. That's what he is to practically all of America right now. But his selection of parts and roles that have impacted people says a whole lot. And like I said, for me personally, Thurgood was an awesome. That's one of the best roles he's ever played because nobody really knew how, outside of what you've read in history books, what Thurgood Marshall really had to face. During those early days, fresh out of Howard and braving the South. With with the obvious resistance in front of him and some resistance that's supposed to be allied, in his camp. So, roles like that really said a lot to me. And I think, as the further out we get from this, you're going to see even more nuance. You're going to see even more impact that he's had on people through his art. So, yeah, I mean, I feel you, man. It it evokes different things in different people, but all of it is pretty heavy.
Dominique, I don't think did you ever get a full out release of your thoughts?
No, I don't think I did. It's hard to tell because I'm always in my head. And man, 2020, man. And this is, we've been echoed a few times, and I think I've been doing a pretty good job of like coping, which is kind of all you can do right now. You can cope. You can, don't succumb. I hope everybody's like not letting this. Not that anybody knows him personally, but Chadwick wouldn't want you out here letting his death bring you to a place where you're wallowing or anything like that. It makes me sad. It makes me sad as a nerd. It makes me sad as a black man. It makes me. It reminds me of my mortality. I was just at the doctor, and I was having a physical, and I won't get graphic, but you know what they do when you get in a physical. Turn your head and cough. And he told me that in a few years it'll be time. I'm 35. In a few years it'll be time for the other thing. And we as black men need to. There's a stigmatism, not a stigmatism. That's your eye thing. There's a stigma. With there's a stigma with black men and health and the way we handle our health care, right? I remember a few years ago, I've been paying for insurance for like 2 years and just not going to the doctor. And it was like, for what? You know what I mean? Like why not go get your physical every year? You're paying a considerable amount of money every month to have the ability to go to the doctor. But black men, generally, we got insurance just in case somebody chopped my foot off. It ain't gonna send me to the po house. And that's how we look at healthcare. And we have to be more preventative. And that's not in any way meant to disparage Chadwick, because I'm sure he was getting all the checks and all the balances, but we don't know, right, if this could have been beaten if he'd have gone to the doctor a year earlier, or if you know what I mean, if who knows, right? We won't ever know, but I know that regular maintenance, regular preventative care is important, and it's something that the reason that colon cancer is is killing a disproportionate amount of black men is because black men don't go get checked, and it's a lot of it has to do with the fact that we scared of, you know what it is. So
what I mean, it might be helpful to say. I mean, because and that's part of the reason
this
why.
Is an audio media mostly, right? And I'm just, you gotta get 2 fingers put in your butt, and it's a little rough. It's a little rough to think about, but all the men in the world that get this done, get through it. They come home, they go and have a drink and eat a food, and it's fine. You're gonna be fine. Yeah. But it's a way to prevent this thing from, by the time you go to the doctor talking about, doctor, my midsection is hurting, and then they do all the testing, gonna do it anyway at that point, and by that time you stage 3. You gotta have chemo, your hair gonna fall out. Me and Marcus can't afford no hair falling out. We out here with the crown. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Brothers, but take care of yourselves.
What and that was one of the things that I was thinking about is, I played football at Tennessee State. I'm 35, I'll be 36 in October. And after I stopped playing football at TSU, the last time that I had a physical was in 2012 when I took a leave of absence from Walmart because I've been working 12-hour shifts and my blood pressure was too high. And they said that even though I was healthy, I was close to a stroke and I needed to, take care of my body, things like that. So it's important, like you said, it helps us realize, that that we are human and we're not superhuman. We won't be here forever. And the fact that he was able to, 2 things, one, that he was able to continue his work while he managed to get treatment. But then he was trying to, I was reading that he was sending somebody vegan recipes and how to chop and how to take care of your body during the COVID pandemic, all while he's going through terminal treatment. And so for me, to your point, Dominique, about going to the doctor, like it's important to have the conversation, even though if it's uncomfortable, because who knows, because of his passing from this cancer, hopefully it'll be an increase of Black men going to go get checked and starting early. I was reading a young lady that was saying that colon cancer runs in her family, and she had to start getting checked at 25 because it's something that for our community and our culture, that because there are not as many, Black, like, there are minorities and Black attorneys, minorities for Black doctors. So there's not somebody that looks like us that can say, hey, you might need to get this, take a look at this, because this runs in your family, which increases your risk. And if it's something there, we want to catch it soon. So that's the only reason why I was saying, Dominique, say what it is, so that way our community can understand, that, that's something that we got to take serious and look at for ourselves. And I'm talking to myself too. Like I said, when I go to my doctor, I'm gonna have to have a conversation. I'm almost 40. So
Yeah, that's real, brother.
Yeah.
And I it's a
Okay.
touchy subject,
mhm,
uh, because of the stigma attached to it. But we need to remove that stigma, and the only way to remove it is by talking about it.
absolutely.
Having a doctor with a latex glove and lubrication go in and check your colon, the only way they can get there is not homosexual. Not that being homosexual is bad. It just don't make you a homosexual for having that done. So let's release that. Let's release that energy that we have, that tension that we have about it, and let's go to have real conversations with our doctors. And Black men, it's enough things out here killing us. Let's stop the things that we
You
can
can
stop.
prevent, right?
Right?
Right.
And while he in
Because
there,
we're
go
good,
ahead and get
Jerry
that
Rock.
prostate
Control what
check
you can
too.
control.
True. Yeah.
Go ahead and get that prostate check while you there.
Yeah. Yeah, when you're in the doctor, next time you go to the doctor for whatever
Yeah.
reason, say, "Hey, doc, is it crazy for me to ask you to check it real quick? Can you check it? Just ask them." You know what I'm saying? But to finish my my diatribe on this, Chadwick Boseman means a lot to me. He will always mean a lot to me. Black Panther as a movie meant so much to me, to the point where I can't even hear when people say it's not one of the best Marvel movies of all time, or
Yeah.
one of the best movies of all time. I can't even hear it. Like, it's like, yeah, it sounds like the Charlie Brown teacher. I saw it 5 times. It makes me so happy to see that movie, and his passing brings me a lot of sadness, but I find solace in the fact that his work will live forever, and we'll always have really quality movies about the people that he played, right? We don't really have a really, really good Martin Luther
Mhm.
King, but we got a really good MLK thanks to Denzel. I mean, MLK. We got a really good Malcolm thanks to Denzel. We got a really good Thurgood thanks to Chad. We got a really good Jackie Robinson thanks to Chad. We got a really good King of Wakanda thanks to Chad, because that's a real dude and it's a real place. No, you can't tell me different. You know what I'm saying? We got a really good, like, we have some quality movies where young Black men can see themselves in these things. We
Yeah.
have movies, we have media and art that can inspire generations for years and years and years to come. And I know I'll be watching it with my kids and my grandkids, and they're gonna be like,
Yeah.
"We don't want to watch this old movie. Look at these graphics; they're terrible." And I'll be like, "Well, you don't even know, back in the day, that right there was the best thing ever you ever seen." When we was out at the movie theater with our dashikis on, and it was African drums playing in the theater. You don't know nothing about nothing.
Bro.
But
Who, does, who doesn't remember those Black Panther premieres, man? Where
we showed out.
I mean,
But
Yeah.
doesn't it make you feel good that we did that, not even knowing what he was going through,
Yeah.
but knowing how
yeah,
he was
Yep.
received by his community and culture, to say, "Hey, man, we here with you. We gonna
And you
show up
know
in
he was watching that.
dashikis,"
Yeah.
and for him to know, like, I fought through this, even though it was, he was 2 years in at that point, to know that, look how, they received me, that all the work, and him saying that he wanted to do another stunt, to do another take, and working the overtime, double overtime, to get the shots right, going through, his treatment.
Mhm.
Still, it was all because he knew what the ultimate goal was, for us to have that pride in seeing ourselves on the screen in a different way that we hadn't seen ourselves before.
Man, I'm still waiting on that. I'm still waiting on the Coogler cut. They got the Snyder cut of Justice League. I want to get the Coogler cut.
Oh
Let me
yeah,
get the 4
yeah,
hours.
yeah.
Dude,
Yeah, man, I'll take it.
I grew up in the black church.
4
I'm
hours,
ready
5
for
hours.
listen. If I don't get a solid 6 hours of sleep, I ain't no good at work the next day. My man's was filming whole movies and going to chemo, and he not. I sit right here when I work every day, and I'm no good if I don't get a solid 6. My man is hitting the stop, freeze, cut, go back to makeup. Let him rub some black stuff on your eye because you got a black eye. Go back out there, come back, go to your chemotherapy session at 3 p.m. Come back at 4:45. We gonna film some more. We got a night shoot tonight. He was doing all of that, and if it don't inspire you, if it don't make you want to do better for yourself, it don't make you want to do better for others. I don't know what will.
I mean, he played a fictional character, a fictional superhero. I mean, he out here being a real superhero.
Yeah.
For real.
And I was gonna say too, one thing
exactly.
that I noticed is that I read, I was so glad for him and his family to be able to release the news and not TMZ, which also lets you know that not only did he communicate what his goals were for him, but his wife had to know, his family had to know, his agent, because it was hey, we're
Marvel
moving
had to
certain
know.
well, I don't know, because
I think they did.
I'm still trying to figure out. I've been reading a lot of articles and nobody seems to have known. And it's possible that he may have told them, but it doesn't seem like anybody outside of his immediate circle within his company or his production his team knew that they didn't release that information out. But I mean, I don't know. It's possible that Marvel. That's a good point to let him leave the set like that, but they probably won't ever say.
Yeah, and I think that what Marcus just pointed out was very important because besides the airtight, top secret type of environment that had to be amongst his family members to keep this information in, he got to control his own narrative at the end.
Man, yeah.
And that's a lot of people are like, why wouldn't you say that you had cancer? Like we should have known for 4 years, but then we'd all been like, oh, you're gonna do Black Panther even though you got the cancer? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he didn't want to be babied for his last few years, and he didn't know that were gonna be his last few years, but everything would have been colored by cancer. Everything.
Well, not just that. As much love as we think Chadwick, is entitled to, you got entities out there that don't. Point blank. You got folks that are even now that are, although they're the quote unquote silent minority, people mourning, and they'll just say, well, Black Panther's not a good movie, or well, they'll just all sorts of really outlandish types of stuff that's only meant to really hurt people. You know what I'm saying? People that are already hurt because they've got an emotional connection. Right, exactly, because they've got a real emotional connection to to the work that this guy has done. So, I mean, that by itself is incredible, because in this day and age of social media and instant digital news, there's no. I mean, that's incredible that he kept that under wraps for 4 years.
Yeah.
Even
the facilities that he was going to. I mean, my mom had cancer and she beat cancer. And going to your facilities, your oncologists, the different nurses, the different times that your name gets sent out to a different treatment facility when they're doing a biopsy. I mean, there's just so many different chains in it that could have been broken. And, that's why I just feel like everything that they did was with such purpose, with great purpose, and understanding that we've got to make sure that we control this until the end, because none of that leaked ever.
Yeah, it says a lot.
Yeah, that's respect.
Yeah.
And I have some, I don't want to say breaking news, but news as of 5:52 today on August 29th. Chad Boseman's tweet, or rather the tweet announcing his passing, is now the most liked tweet ever on Twitter.
Yeah.
Wow.
As of 5:52, it had 5.9 million likes. and
It's
there's
over 7
over
now.
80,000 people. 80,000 people are talking about it right now.
Yeah, it's over 7 million now.
Talking about that
Yeah, it's a
particular
7
tweet.
million.
I added my like at 7.2
That's
million.
crazy.
I added my like.
Yeah, and imagine that that was at 5:52, and right now it's 9 o'clock Eastern. So like, you think about how much the second most liked tweet was Barack Obama's tweet talking about racism, in August of 2017. That was 4.3 million likes. So you think about, I mean, everybody likes Obama that doesn't like the other guy that's in the White House right now. Like everybody with sense likes him. Even people that don't necessarily didn't vote for him, like, yeah, I didn't vote for the guy, but I like him. He has a good singing voice. Whatever your reason is for liking Obama, like, you think about the people that like that tweet just about saying like, hey man, this man died, but he died in a way that is unprecedented right now because TMZ didn't figure out that he was sick 3 years ago, and his cousin didn't sell him out for $20
Yeah.
and some retweets, and
Yeah.
like the hospital didn't say nothing. I mean,
4 years.
I hate to bring it up because I'm still hurt about it, but like, you think about, cops was telling people Kobe died before Vanessa knew, and this man was sick for so long and didn't once, like, people were like, man, I bet he like tired of doing that Wakanda Forever thing. And you remember seeing Chad out and he was like doing this thing and like
Yeah,
he
at the
looked
All-Star game.
tired, and you was like, man, yeah, the All-Star game especially, he was like, man, he tired of doing it.
Yeah.
Man was tired. Like, I have a very, very close friend of mine that survived cancer and was going through chemo, and she tells me, like, we had this conversation yesterday, matter of fact, she was just like, man, like, I couldn't even, like, I didn't even want to go like walk to the car after chemo. And this dude was acting and running and jumping and doing all type of stuff. Like, that is rough. You know what I'm saying? Surgeries, chemo, all that stuff. And he out there shirtless, fighting people with spears and whatnot, like in the middle of a waterfall, looking like Black Jesus. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a testament not only to himself but the people around him and the support that he had. And like, if just not being like him is enough for you, like, be like him and be that person that's in someone else's circle that supports them like that. Strive to have a circle like that. Strive to be that person in that circle that be like, man, look, whatever you going through, like, if I can help, let me know. And I ain't gonna say, like, I'm not about to help you out and then go on Facebook and be like, man, you know what, man? Hey, my boy Marcus, shoot, I know he a lawyer and everything, but he needed $20 and I slid him a little Jackson. And I ain't gonna say nothing about it, but what I'm saying, like, nah, man, like, you
Right.
you gotta be a force of good. Cause like, he was talking about, I remember like Channel 2 was talking about how there was a kid that died in Evanston in Georgia, and he died, I think, in December of 2017. And Chad was like hurt, and I think he invited his parents to like the premiere because the kid was just like, man, I just want to stay alive long enough to see Black Panther. And I think he let the kids see like an early version of it, but it wasn't finished, or he was just for like one kid just to be like, man, I really want to see the movie. And it wasn't like they were like a Make-A-Wish kid. You just sent him a letter and he came.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you could say from hindsight, oh, he identified with the kid because he had cancer. The kid had cancer. No, I don't think that was it. I think it was,
Oh man.
I was a good dude.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like,
Yeah.
as good of an actor as he was, I think he was a better human being.
Yeah, and I think Roberto is on point there, and and just to kind of take what we do for example, where we're in our own circle where we're representing a niche that isn't really talked about a whole lot, but I think the big thing about platforms that he has, platforms that many of us many people like us have, no matter how small, no matter how seemingly insignificant is that you can do good. You can do good by people. You can, whether that's, presenting an image of something that, folks like us don't necessarily see. Whether it's encouraging that, that kid to get into STEM, or, champion the cause of HBCUs to people that, may not necessarily get that exposure to it, or more importantly, get negative exposure to it for people that don't necessarily appreciate what HBCUs represent. I mean, just a number of things, even professional. I look at us, we're 5 black IT professionals. Well, minus Marcus. Marcus is like a lawyer. But, you get what I'm saying.
He's a professional.
Professional.
Yeah, he had letters next to his name.
Yeah. But,
Exactly.
the fact of the matter is that, we all have a platform, not just out of a podcast, but in our daily lives on a daily basis, being an example. Like, my daughter was here today, and the first thing that she asked me before she rolled out with her mom was that, Daddy, I know we talked about the kids podcast. When are we going to do it? And it's like, we're going to do it soon, kiddo. We're going to do it soon. And I got friends and stuff that are looking for it. Let me. When are we going to do it? It's like, okay, we're going to do it soon. We're going to do it soon. And the fact that she's so excited about it, that hit me pretty. That gave me the warm fuzzies, because, before I started doing this, she wasn't really a STEM kid. She was a doll baby and all sorts of stuff kid. And the fact that, people are seeing this and they are really embracing the platform, just like, Chad, who knew this would have been the outcome Chadwick's freshman year at Howard or senior year at high school? Nobody, except for Chad and the people people in his circle, his support system, that had the love and confidence in him to push him to excel. And I think, what he's accomplished is, besides the fact that he embodied a lot of what's good about Black folk in general here, is he embodies what can be achieved if we put our minds to it. If we put our minds to it and think about others, and think about how to impact others' lives, how to do so in a way that inspires people. That's what Black Panther was. When Black Panther was released, dude, there wasn't a Black person in this country. Well, I won't say it wasn't, because you always got those, quote unquote.
I was gonna say, you can't say there ain't no Black people in this country with all the people that spoke at the Republican National Convention.
So you didn't watch the RNC?
No, I didn't.
You didn't watch the RNC? There was a couple.
But
Herschel Walker, what are you doing, Herschel?
Yeah.
They had a Howard grad up there too.
Oh man.
Yeah, Herschel. No comment. But I think the point I'm trying to get to is that, he's a perfect example of a guy that had immense talent, that wasn't afraid to use his platform to make the least of us better. And that's what it's all about. That's what, and not just Black folk in general, but people. You could, that guy could have been a prima donna, but he wasn't. He could have been, he could have just been the type of cat that, I'm here for the photo op and, I'm rolling out. But he's not. He's pumping out movies in stage 3 cancer and visiting cancer patients because he wants to, and he feels that he can impact lives, and I think that's the biggest thing for me that I take away from his work and his life. Young cat, in his 40s. I'm in my 40s, and it's sobering. And not only that, it's like he accomplished a lot. It's like, man, I got a lot of stuff to do. I got people to impact.
It's funny. Obviously a lot of people know him for Black Panther, and like so, after the movie came out, he had to go around and do the whole marketing circuit and all that kind of stuff, right? And so I think after a while, he kind of got tired of it, but because I think, well, I don't know, I think it seemed like having to, do Wakanda Forever all the time. Every time you saw someone, yeah, I think it might have gotten maybe a little tiring after a while. Because I mean, he did go on to do other films, uh, but at the same time, I think he kind of soldiered through it because he knew,
He knew what that
what
role meant
this
to us.
right. He knew what this means. He even another thing about the Coogler statement is that he pointed out that Chadwick himself wanted to do an African accent with on Black Panther because just to show that Europe did not conquer
Yes.
Wakanda. Like it was like a straight defiance of European colonialism. Yeah, they might have conquered those other countries. They ain't get us. So we gonna be blackity black up in here. So like
Yeah.
but but I think that's just the fact that he even you know uh pursued that and championed that to kind of say, look, this is what would happen if Europeans didn't take over Africa. This is what could happen. Look at the progress, the technological progress. Look, like Africa is a huge continent, like a huge continent. Imagine how much innovation could come out of that one continent, out of that huge continent, and with like millions of ethnicities and cultures and stuff, and like it's just rich in history and culture, and it's like imagine what would happen if that wasn't tainted, by the Europeans. I mean, it is what it is now, but still. And another thing about HBCUs,
Yeah.
I think that like just the fact that he went to Howard. I mean, I didn't go to Howard. My wife went to Howard temporarily. She didn't graduate, but she did go to Howard. And so I think for her, it might even be, a little bit of a, she kind of feels at home. That's one of the reasons why we live here is because she really likes the DC area. She went to Howard. She liked the area. So, and I'm trying not to, I have a lisp here. I have these these aligners in my teeth. I'm trying not to have a lisp. Um, but like just the fact that a Howard product made it this far, got the most liked tweet. I mean, granted, it was because of his death, but
Posthumously.
right. But the very fact that a black man that went to Howard from South Carolina and like he's made this much of an impact, like I think that goes to show that one, going to an HBCU is not a death wish or a career. If
It's not
anything,
right.
it enhances your career. It also shows that the only one of the breaks he got was someone might have mentioned this. Felicia Rashad was one of his
Yeah.
professors, and I think because I forgot exactly how it happened, but I think because of her connection to Denzel, they were able to fund his schooling in London. It was a theater school in London, and he went there with, I think, with some other people. But because of that backing, look at what he's been able to accomplish, and that goes to Herb's point about reaching back to the least of us, right? If we can use what we had, use like those of us who are successful. I mean, I think I would like to say all of us are pretty successful in what we're doing, right? If we can use what we have and give back to our community and show people, hey, you wanna we're the Black Techies. You wanna get into tech, you wanna get into coding. Hey, here's a Chromebook, here's a laptop. Let's learn how to code. You wanna go to an HBCU? Here's a book scholarship. Here's a scholarship. Let's and I've talked about this kind of off camera before with her, but and the rest of the group. But I would really like for the Black Techies to be, we can remain part, mainly a podcast, but it would be great if we could use our platform, like monetarily. Like, if we could be a sponsor for an esports tournament or for an HBCU esports tournament, if we could sponsor, a book scholarship. I'm not saying like a full scholarship or anything like that, but just $500 book scholarship. Hey, to your HBCU choice. Let's do some kind of tangible way of giving back to our community that leads them to be better, to be successful, and then they give back. It's the whole reach one, give whatever that I forgot. But
each one teach one.
Yeah, that one.
Well, as a side note to what Dave just laid out, which I absolutely positively agree with. Here's some non-Wakanda related news that we'll probably cover in depth in our next podcast. And that is Star League Gaming coming out with the MEAC doing a full-fledged esports league for HBCUs.
Yeah, I saw
That's
that.
going to start in the fall of 2021.
Yeah.
And right now, 16 teams. I know in our past podcast with Professor John Cash or Johnson C. Smith, he hinted at it, but he couldn't really give up the goods because he was, they were still
NDA.
working on it. Yeah, but the fact of the matter is that the MEAC is doing their own league. There's going to be an HBCU league sponsored by Star League Gaming that's going to consist of schools from the MEAC, the SWAC, and some CIAA and some other institutions. I think there are a couple of NAIA institutions there as well. But this looks like to be a trend because I think SWAC is starting to look at that model to do their own league. Now, while we're on this topic, before we get back onto our regular, the topic, I cannot emphasize this more. For those of you guys that are following the podcast, if you're on campus, if you can play Madden, you can start an esports club. If you can play FIFA, you can start an esports club on campus.
Hey, if you can play COD or Halo.
COD,
League of
right.
Legends, and if
Right.
I really want to start, I really want to just go to TH.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy to do in Corona, but I
Go-
really want to go up there and just coach some people and get this thing started because I have such a passion for the game.
Yeah, go to your SGA reps, start one. Get them to start one because right now is the prime. There isn't a better time right now for HBCUs to get a big footprint in the industry, and it's happening. It's happening really, really fast, a lot faster than any of us thought it was going to happen. So, if you're out there and and let me just emphasize that this is not just about gaming either. It's not about you picking up the sticks and trying to frag somebody on Call of Duty. It's about you. It's about people, people of color getting more representation in a multi-billion-dollar industry. And HBCUs,
coaches, PR. There's so many different ways that you can make esports work for you if you have even a cursory passion for gaming or competition or all of the things, sports. You can really make it work for you.
Exactly. And the fact that we've got two of the schools that are going to be in that tournament represented here on this panel, Tennessee State, and I believe Morehouse. Tennessee State and Morehouse are going to have representation there. I'm not sure about North Carolina A&T. I got to take a look at that again. But me being an Alabama State product, I'm trying to get those cats on board. I'm going to be talking to people this week in terms of, hey, look, see what's happening. Please do something. Start a club, do something. And that should be, any student that's on campus that's a gamer that loves the culture. And, it's not about you just being able to play as a pro. It's about opening the door for HBCUs to be able to impact the space. And in light of our conversation, even though this is kind of off on a tangent, it's still related. because it's something that, this platform, I know we've championed this cause since, we really became aware of it. And that it's been, Dave, what, about a year and a half or so that we've been,
About the esports?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, talking about
Longer than
initiatives
that.
a lot longer than that. So,
Maybe.
but
Mhm.
while you're listening to the podcast, pass the word to, you know, to whatever points of contact you got on your campuses and your administrations.
Mhm.
Emphasize that this is an opportunity. This is not just games.
Mhm.
And some of the old folks in your administration, yes, I said it to the folks that are listening, old folks in an administration that don't understand what technology is, it's your job to communicate that fact that this is something that's an opportunity, not something to be feared, like, like the Stone Age tools or something. You know, it, it's, yeah, just, I had to get that out while we're talking about this.
Actually, I think it might be a good time to actually kind of wrap up. It's about 9:33 my time. So my daughter needs to go to sleep.
Mhm.
Hopefully she
You
is
about to get in
asleep, honestly.
trouble.
I know, right? But
Exactly.
Ashley, to your point, so I think this all kind of uh, speaks of, I mean, we talked about how we need representation, especially in tech spaces. We've seen how Chadwick has championed representation in the film industry. Black Panther is $1 billion movie. Like, what black movie do you know is $1 billion movie? Right. So we need more things like that. So what you can do, either the listener or the viewer, if you want this, the Black Techies, to be to continue in that spirit, I would encourage you to, one, subscribe to the podcast, or subscribe to the YouTube channel. Number two, like us on all the social media stuff. Three, we do have a Patreon page. Like, you can give actual money so that we can do the stuff. Like, we do have things to pay for, like the
Mhm.
website. We got, video editing stuff. Yes, we have bills for this thing and marketing. That really helps, honestly. The last time we did a big marketing push, we got like 100 follows on Facebook, like overnight. No, maybe like 200 or something like that. But yeah, so
Yeah, it was
and
more than that. It was
yeah,
probably close
so
to 200.
patreon.com/the Black Techies. Go there. It's only $5. I think you can do less if you want to, but just $5 a month. And what we're trying to do is, one, build a community. We want to kind of build this thing up, and two, the money that we do raise. I mentioned being a sponsor for esports. I mentioned doing book scholarships. We want to do that kind of stuff, but that takes money, right? And all of us got jobs. All of us have, we can pitch in when we can, but some of that stuff is just going to take a little bit more of a community building thing. So I would encourage you, if you can. I understand, people kind of struggling right now. So if you can't, don't do it. Please do not give to us if you cannot. If you, I know it's $5, but for some people, $5 is a lot. So don't do it if you can't. But if you can spare it, I would ask you to please go to our Patreon and support us. Uh, like I said, share us on all the socials and all that stuff. Um, and I guess one thing for me to just kind of
If you
leave.
can't financially support though, telling a friend to listen, telling two friends to listen. That's the way that doesn't cost you any money. And if tech
Mhm.
ain't their thing, it's okay, right? I'm funny as hell, so you don't even have to know technology to laugh at some of the stuff we talking about. But even if you don't want to listen to the podcast, tell a couple friends to tell a couple friends, and eventually there's a nerd down that line somewhere that will enjoy the content that we're putting out. But more importantly, like Dave said, we're talking about uplifting the Black community, and none of us are in this to get rich.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Maybe like a few samples or something, or an invite to CES, but we're not in here to. This is not us saying give us $5 so we can so we can buy a house. This is us saying you support the Patreon so then we can continue to support our people in the realm of STEM and gaming and nerddom and all the uplifting of our people, not just
Yeah.
people that are athletes.
Yeah. Well, let
Mhm.
me just say this. I
Yep.
think Dom is funny to just about everybody except for that one cat that was in the Facebook group.
Hard
That ain't.
pass on the Dom guy.
Yeah, yeah. I think that dude kind of has it out for you, man. I don't think you're gonna win any fans with him.
It's because
But
he is a Republican.
Well, I mean, I never mind. I was going to say something, but I remember we're not supposed to curse on this. So,
but yeah,
but he should spend some intimate time with himself. I'll just leave it at that.
man. But yeah, just to again, for everybody that supports us and listens to us, passes the word. You're the guys that we do the podcast for, and we absolutely appreciate everything that comes with you guys listening and getting the word out about us. Um, in the future, we're going to be continuing to put out really dope content. Uh, there are some other projects and stuff that are on the horizon by some of our members, and that announcement for those things will come at a little bit later date. But some immediate things that are going to be on the pike, there will be a kids podcast where the kids are going to be running the show. God help us, and
Like
um,
literally, God help us.
and it, that's going to be interesting because kids and technology that's a unique dynamic.
Fortnite and esports.
Yes, Fortnite, esports, and
TikTok.
LOL.
Yeah.
So
I always say TikTok and Peppa Pig, and then you round out the kids' usage of
Yeah.
technology right there.
Yeah.
a lot though. Peppa Pig is kind of gangster. She kind of hard, but yeah,
I second that on Pepper.
Peppa's a thug.
Peppa don't play no games.
No shorts taken for Pepper. But yeah, we want to just while we got the opportunity, we want to just send a collective thank you out to everybody that listens to us, everybody that's had the opportunity to interact with us. Like I said, Professor John Cash, Johnson C. Smith, um, some of our other guests that we've had, Tech Me Out. Um, who's the young man that you interviewed,
Oh,
Dave?
Or you'll get in trouble.
Yeah,
Kevin the Tech
never
Ninja.
mess no names up. He did an interview.
Yeah, and you get in trouble because you're gonna forget
They gonna
one
try to
person.
edit that too.
So we had Kevin the Tech Ninja, Check Me Out, and Soldier Knows Best. So
Exactly.
we've had them on the and we have more in store. I'm trying to get technically T on here. He's actually agreed to be on the podcast. It's just a matter of timing and scheduling and all that kind of stuff. But he has agreed to be on it. So if you know who technically T is, go ahead and follow him on Twitter. Yeah, he might be the next one. I'm trying to get some other folks on here. Like maybe your average consumer. No, but they did when when I asked them on Twitter, they didn't like the tweet. I was like, all right, well maybe they might be interested, but they just had a baby, so I don't know.
We might be
But
on the opposite end of the spectrum, man. Your average consumer and then Flossie Carter on top of that.
oh man, see, it's hey
Flossy and white shoes.
but yeah,
My white shoes.
hey, I sing that every time he comes on too. But but yeah, man, we got a lot of stuff going on. So I would encourage you all to subscribe, to tell people like Dominique said, I know we're called the Black Techies, but I guess we're more of a blurred channel, or kind of, because we do talk about other nerdy stuff, and we had a whole Game of Thrones episode, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like we're not just about tech. That's I guess maybe our bread and butter, but that's not the only thing we talk about. So if you're into that kind of stuff, subscribe for that.
Hmm.
Tell folks about that.
Might be
And you can
talking.
listen to us argue about
we
Samsungs and Androids and Apples
on
and
that note, we really need to figure out if I don't know if we're gonna do a spinoff or a special episode. Somebody, we got to talk about this Lovecraft Country. Are y'all watching this?
Yes,
Listen,
sir.
I don't know what it's about. I really want to know what it's about. I watched both episodes. I watched them. I wasn't even playing the game on my phone while I was watching. I was watching it, and at the end of the second episode, I was like, "Huh."
I think it's on right now because Twitter is talking about it. So that's what
Yeah.
I'm
That's
looking
why I'm
down
staying
there
off of
right
the
now,
socials. I'm
scrolling
staying
it.
off
Yeah.
the social medias because they'll mess around and be like, "Man, do you believe Atticus is actually?"
Oh yeah, they
And I'm
already
like,
talking about stuff.
Yeah,
They don't get shit.
yeah, you got to watch that.
yeah, the whole stream is just blocked out right now until I go off the podcast.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm not looking at
yeah.
none of
So
that.
we gotta get us a little conversation going on about that because maybe one of y'all can explain to me what is Lovecraft Country because I don't know. I really want to know, but I don't know.
I still want to do an episode about Cannon Busters. We got to talk about Cannon Busters.
We got. I was
Sometime
just
this
thinking
year.
that.
We got to
And
talk about
Watchmen.
Cannon Busters. I'm gonna have to watch the
I
whole
think-
thing again just to remember what happened.
Yeah,
But
I think that shout out to Lovecraft and Watchmen for apparently teaching America about its own history.
Yes,
I
sir.
mean, what?
I think you know what as an
I think we was talking about when we said Black Wall Street.
look they thought that was another label that Puff Daddy started. So just ignore that.
Yeah.
You know, America's a lot like the English language, and for an English major, that's like the more you learn about English, the more you hate it, and the more it infuriates you, but you still love it. And that is a lot of the thing with America is that the more you kind of learn about America, you like, oh, so Central Park used to, oh, so yeah, so Lake Lanier, y'all just drowned a whole, oh, is that why? Oh, wow. So
Yeah.
all the Indians, y'all just killed, so y'all just sent them, and then you gave them a casino. Wow. Okay.
Man,
So you stole Texas, but it was Mexico, and now y'all hate Mexicans because you think they stole some stuff in Walmart in your healthcare that you can't get. But even as an American citizen with a social security number, I have a hard time getting
But
to.
we're not a political podcast.
I'm just yeah.
that should be like a subtitle of the podcast, not a political podcast.
Yeah, exactly. You know, like I mean,
stating facts. These are just facts of history.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
yeah, this is history. Like whatever political party you're in, we do know that America, much like the Fire Nation in Avatar, loves to rewrite history and make itself sound good. But I promise you,
That was good.
I promise you.
I'm just gonna say this.
Have time, but good grief.
HBO is like the Malcolm X of premium cable channels because that's all they do is piss off white folk. So,
But then they cancel the shows. They canceled Watchmen season 2. I'm not gonna give them Malcolm X. At best, I'll give them Kanye before Kim. Pre-Kim Kanye. I can't give him Malcolm because if Malcolm would have renewed Watchmen for eternity, that would have been like whatever you need.
That's why HBO's kind of gone through some mental issue. Next thing you know, they're gonna be conservative. Nah, bro.
Well, I mean, you know,
they almost did that slavery show.
Yeah,
I almost say they almost did that show.
I wish it would have came out. I wish it would have came out.
That's still they haven't ruled that out, and
I hope not. I hope they put it out.
Yeah, they haven't ruled that out. Same thing with Amazon. I know we were talking about this on one of our earliest shows. Amazon actually started started a production of an alternate history show in response to that. To that show that was going to come out on HBO after Game of Thrones. So we haven't heard much news from it. They haven't said they ain't doing it. So I don't know, man. We might be seeing something crazy once all this stuff kind of starts pulling off a little bit.
Hey, look, if for anybody listening to this right now, if you're not a minority, then you don't understand how minorities say goodbye. Because David told us to shut up like 10 minutes ago, and this is exactly what happened. You know, you try to leave the cookout, and you be like, "All right, now I'll see y'all later." What happened? These shoes? No, I got them from StockX. Oh, you talking about the thing? No, well, okay. Let me tell you real quick about the. And you can never leave.
Just like the Black Church, you know, the guest preacher come in. I'm not gonna take y'all time. I'm not gonna take y'all time. 4 hours later,
exactly. And somebody scream out, "Take your time, Pastor!"
If y'all would just turn your Bibles to Hosea. I got one more. I'm finna close. You be like, well, I remember when I was a kid, that finna close. You be like, oh, he just said I'm finna close. We're gonna be here another 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Real talk though, that we gotta close though.
Yeah. Look, you're welcome, David.
But no, like, for real, like, support the podcast however you feel is necessary. But the important thing is, please support the podcast, ladies. We got y'all too. As a quick little insight, one of the best performing episodes according to iTunes is the ladies podcast. So just want to put that out there, ladies. This ain't just for us. I know you see 5 guys here. My wife was on, but you know this is for you too. In fact, next Tuesday I have an interview with a lady who started a company that basically provides technology for lower income families so that they can do education. Be on the lookout for that. That interview is coming next Tuesday, or this Tuesday, I guess. So yeah, be on the lookout for that.
And we
Outside
ain't
of
mad
that,
if there's a young lady that wants to be a techie. We not mad at it. Like just holler at us at the
man,
Black
we
Techie
encourage
Collective.
it. Like,
We encourage it. We had. I mean, Queen Tiff is out here just making too many boss moves to come and sit down with the young guys. But we want y'all on the podcast. We want multiple voices, multiple Black voices, but multiple voices and all that. So yeah. But I ain't gonna keep. Yeah, go ahead, Dave. Wrap it up. You got it.
all right, no, we good. So in fact, everyone get 30 seconds. 30 seconds. Your last word. All right, Marcus, go ahead.
Oh man, you gonna make me go first for 30 seconds? No, I really do appreciate this space for us to talk about, the impact that Chadwick Boseman had on us as an actor and as a man, and just going through reflecting with you all guys just encourages me and enthuses me more to want to continue to do, to leave a legacy like he did behind. So that's all I got.
All right, Mr. Joseph, your turn.
I'm setting my timer. I got a timer over here. I'm gonna set it.
Click.
Yeah. Thank you all for like always having the opportunity and the time and the even when we don't really have the time as fathers and workers and all that other stuff to do this, to stop and say like, look, we need to try and do this real quick. We need to just try and get this off our chest, come together, talk it out, heal. um this ain't therapy by itself. Now y'all, if y'all need some therapy, go out and seek it. Take care of your body, take care of your mind. Like Marshawn said, take care of your chickens, take care of your mentals. Love y'all, man.
Yeah,
Look, there it
as the
goes.
alarm went off.
And the alarm went off.
Ding.
I'm a man
All
of my
right,
word.
all right, Herb. I'll kick it to you.
Well, thank you, Chadwick. I mean, as far as all the love that's been given to you, man, that's all that really needs to be said. Thank you. Um, and thank everybody that listens to this podcast that takes the time out of their schedule to, to indulge our whims and our humor and everything else in between. We appreciate everything. Thank you.
All right, I think that's the shortest Herb has ever. I'm just kidding. I'm
What?
messing with you.
Is
Boo.
that it? What? I knew Herb was going 3 minutes. You couldn't have told me that Herb wasn't going 3 minutes. Come on, Herb, with the short wrap up. Let's go. I'm gonna use your extra 12 seconds because I got some stuff to say. Listen,
Go ahead and close us out.
we've talked about Chad. Like Herb said, thank you, Chad. We love you, brother. We gonna miss you. I've been fighting back tears this whole episode, and I've been using humor to do that because it makes me really sad. But on that note, arrest the killers that killed Breonna Taylor. We not playing about this. We not gonna stop talking about it. The black DA that is ignore that spoke for Trump. That's not. I hope you don't get another night of peace, brother. You all skin folk ain't kin folk. I hope you do not rest until you do your job, brother. The people who attacked Jacob Blake, I hope that they never get another day of rest. That brother should not have been shot. I'm tired of this keep continuing to happen. It's just such a collective weight that keeps getting put on every time you almost get out. Every time you're like, all right, man, like it's not like we okay that George Floyd been gone, and it's not like time makes it easy, but time gets us to a place where we don't have to think about it all day. And then as soon as you get to a place where you're like, another one, and they're doing it on purpose, and it's really bothering me. So we need reform, defund the police. We're not playing about this. We're not gonna stop talking about this. Y'all need to take y'all behinds down to the polls on November, whatever the first Tuesday in November is. I think it's the 4th. Vote. Make sure you're registered to vote. A great resource. It's apolitical. VoteSaveAmerica.com. If you go to that website, there's links to all your different states. You can also go to and adopt a state, any one of the battleground states. This is blue leaning. It's one of the battleground states. If you're interested in how you can help, but you live somewhere where, like, you live in California, it's blue, or you live in Tennessee and it's red, and you know it's going to be that either way, but you want to affect the outcome of the race, adopt a state. They'll put you to work. Everything's virtual now anyway. It doesn't matter where you live. So no, you can't vote, but you can do text. You can do calls. You can do door knocking. You can do email campaigns. So help. Adopt a state. Make sure you're registered to vote. Please go vote. Every day you guys wake up. First of all, go through this week. Do something good for somebody if you can. Every day you wake up, we're closer and closer to Trumpito, Tangerino, Donald J. Trumpito not being y'all president anymore. I love y'all. Wakanda Forever.
And I will also add, vote in your local elections. Please. Vote locally.
David Cameron is here because of a local election. The DA matters, guys. Your mayor matters. Your sheriff matters. Your police chief matters. All of it. Most of these things are elected positions.
I would say it matters more than the president because the president doesn't affect you directly.
Yeah.
So, on that note, hell Wakanda.
Wakanda.